Welcome to Envision Radio from the United Way of Greater Charlottesville and City of Promise News Radio 98.9, 1070 AM, WINA. Another sort of unseasonably warm week for us. What's going
global
on?
warming.
Like, what are we?
Climate change.
Oh, no.
What are we doing?
I don't know. It's 80 degrees.
It's 80 degrees. It is, by the way, we record this on Thursday, so it's November 7th.
Yeah.
It's 80 degrees. It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Glorilla. I don't know if y'all know Glorilla. She said it's 95 degrees. It's sometime Friday. It's 95 degrees. She's talking about climate change.
Yeah, is that what that is?
I don't know.
Known climate activist and Memphis legend Glorilla.
Glorilla.
Aspiring environmentalist.
Amen.
And
she
artist.
knew this was going to happen.
Oh, well, good for her. Yeah, I don't know. It also hasn't rained in a while. Like, what is that
It's supposed
about?
to rain today.
Is it
Is it?
really?
Mm-hmm.
That would be lovely.
gonna rain
It's
jacket.
80 degrees and rain. I was like, okay, where do I put my plants?
But you know how
Yeah,
people do?
also
They be like,
true.
we really needed that rain. We really needed it. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know who does that? People our age do that. That's what
Not
I
mine.
do. That's what I do.
I didn't
I
wanna
say,
speak
yes,
on
I need
y'all.
that rain.
People do say that. I'm
Yeah.
like, they did that at the hurricane too. I was like,
Well, I don't need devastating rain. I need, like, an
didn't we?
appropriate amount of rain.
It didn't need to be 2 weeks.
yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, we don't need to do all that. All that and more coming up with Juana Dent. How are you?
I'm well. How are y'all?
Well, you're getting a little bit of it. We're doing all right. Thank you for hanging out with us.
No, thank you for the invite.
So the sort of the joke is that we Marky and team do a lot of work and we do some research and I do some research and we send you questions and then we don't ask any of them. That's kind of how this goes.
That's fine.
So
I like conversation.
the one question that we have asked everyone is tell us a little bit about yourself and what either brought you or kept you in Charlottesville, and then we will go from there.
Yep. So my story is I actually tell people I'm from Charlottesville because a lot of people don't know about Stony Point. And
Oh,
Stony
yeah.
Point is
Sure.
just like north. I just
Is
tell
it in
people-
Albemarle?
Mm-hmm. Albemarle, kind of like Barbersville area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
way. So they'd be like, where?
Uh.
Richmond? I'm like, no, not that Stony Point.
Richmond.
But
Richmond.
Albemarle County. I went to Stony Point Elementary School,
Sure.
Burley Middle School, and I graduated from Albemarle. So I am a patriot.
Right on.
So I'm a single mother of 2 wonderful children, Dawn, Morse, Rachel, Timberlake.
Shout out.
Yeah, that's my baby. But I have been here all my life, and it's just, I think what kept me here is just, I am a little bit sheltered, maybe some people would say a little bit, but I like home. My family is here. My mom's side from the family is from Crozet, my dad's side, way back Henderson, North Carolina, but here in Stony Point as well. So family is here, and home is what you make it, and home is where the heart is. So here I am.
So you graduated from Albemarle County High School?
Mm-hmm.
My mom and aunt also graduated from Albemarle County High School. They're twins, Juana and Teresa Walker.
They were above me.
Okay.
Like 2, maybe 3 years above me.
Okay, it was
So,
my mom.
Serena was
Yes.
below me.
Yes, that's my aunt.
And
Felicia.
Felicia?
Yes.
Yeah, she was way above me. But
Yeah, she was way above them. She older than them. Shout out to my aunt.
There you go. I graduated from Albemarle too, in case anybody's interested.
Yes.
Go Patriots.
Sure did. That's right.
I'm not gonna say all that because I didn't go
Yeah,
there.
that's
So
all right.
I
That-
guess
you-
y'all
you
cool
were
or whatever.
the-
We used to
you
play
were
y'all.
the odd
I
man
went to
out.
Orange and we used to
Yeah.
play Albemarle in our district, and
Okay.
they were really good at the time. So I don't really like that. We had some big.
Yeah.
When I was in school, everybody was pretty cool, pretty great, and did their thing. Basketball, football. It
Yeah.
was
They're
on it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about growing up. Was there ever, did you ever want to leave? Did you ever think about leaving? I mean, was there that time? I think what we all went through, and we all grew up here in sort of different. I grew up in Fry Springs, and she was in Orange, but again, it's sort of the greater Charlottesville area. And I think I tend to find that people come in 2 camps. They're like, I like it here, and
Yeah.
there's something for me. Or you hit that kind of 16, 17, 18. You're like, this is boring. I got to get out of here. Right? And so did you have that moment of like, all right,
Well, I will
we've
tell
done
you,
it. We got to go.
The 16, 17, I was a mom. I had my son when I was 16.
Oh,
getting ready to be
wow.
17. So
Wow.
I did want to leave.
Yeah, sure.
But
Sure.
afraid to ask. It was just like an uncle that I really adored and loved that I wanted to move out with. But again, it's just like my son is probably what kept me here. And from growing up in the country, when I went to school, not until like middle school, I was like the only black female in my class from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. So it's like, what do we do? And then getting to middle school at Burley, it was like this
Culture shock.
there's black people.
Oh, sure.
Type of thing.
Mhm.
But again, I had my son when I was like 16, and it was just just took it day by day. What can I do? Where can I go? What should I be doing? I'm just doing the best that I can. But there's absolutely been times that, yes, I wanted to leave. Even before I had him growing up, it's like, oh, yeah, I want to be our airline stewardess. But I guess it's like, what is it called now to be politically correct? Like a flight attendant?
Oh,
or
sure.
something
Sure,
like
sure,
that.
sure, sure,
And it
sure,
just
yeah.
Have you been cycling through names?
No. Just it's
Flight specialist? I don't know.
Yeah.
Specialist.
And that was just
Hospitality. Flight hospitality.
there you go.
I think I just came up with that.
I
I don't
think
know.
you made that up, but it sounds good.
Does it give them a pay increase though? 'Cause,
Yeah, right.
sometimes
Decrease.
it's
They better unionize. I can't. No, I don't know. Probably not.
Oh, so yeah, that just so I could travel and be away from home and be away from whatever. But I do like it here. It's just a lot of changes since I've grown up. Like at Washington Park, we could just go chill. My brother and I have fun while the parents are doing whatever on the ball field and all those type of things. But now it's like, you going where?
Yeah.
Are lights up there? Who you gonna be with? That type of thing.
Sure.
So,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
How did you get into legal publishing?
My mom worked for, back in the day, it was called the Mickey Company.
Mm-hmm.
And when she would come home, sometimes she would bring her work home. If there was overtime, I was like, Ma, I can do this. I was like, I can do these things. And so when they were hiring temps, I worked for them and under a temp agency for like a year. And then I was just there. Had a couple different positions there. I mean, I did like it until like about the last 5 years when they start laying people off and
Sure.
they closed the building they had on Carlton Ave, and this kind of like moved me around to positions that I did not want to be in. So just kind of, it was time to go. Was not happy at all.
So your mom worked there, so she'd bring her work home with her. Is that what did you when you were growing up? What did you want to do? Like, was the flight specialist?
Younger, but actually be a veterinarian. I'm a Stony Point, this country. I love animals. I love animals to this day. Like, probably have too many animals at home. 2 dogs, a cat, 2 guinea pigs.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah. But I love animals, and it's just what I wanted to do. And I think, to be honest, like how I am, it just carry over into who I am now, even though it's not like animals that I'm caring for, but just people and community. So
I feel like they say that how people treat animals is an indication of
I've heard that too.
Yeah,
and
like
found it to be true.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
you ain't gonna be treating no animals bad, especially in this. You ain't gonna finna do it. Leave your dog in the car if you want to. If you want some shattered glass.
Yeah, don't. They will report you.
My brother kept his dog in the car for like 2 minutes when we went to vote on Tuesday, and I came back and I was playing with him. I said, "Oh my God, your window smashed." He was walking up. I said, "Oh my God, your dog is gone, Trevon. They took your dog." He said, "Huh?" He ran up. I was like, "I'm just kidding. It's still here. I didn't think it was gonna be."
But
Leave
at
that
least you
dog in
know
the car.
he cares. I hope he cares about the dog and
He
not the
know.
smashed window.
He be kissing it. He love it. But don't play around with your dog in the car.
Don't do it.
I don't play that.
What kind of dog is it?
It's like so it look like an old man and it's ugly, and it's brindle. Is that a pug?
Brindle's a pit.
Not.
Isn't that type
No,
of pit?
it's like a marbled, like it's like a pug face.
I have no idea.
I think it's ugly cute.
The 2 dogs I have are mixed with Chihuahua. So.
It's like it's some type of pug. What's the other thing? Not a pug, but like a
the Frenchie?
It's like something like that, like a pug or something.
Okay.
But it has like a
Cute-time
marble
dog.
look, and it's expensive. I guess.
Okay.
He bought it expensively.
Okay.
It's one of them.
So he would be mad if the dog was gone and not the smash window.
Insurance
He
covers
drive-
those windows.
He driving around like it's a kid. Like he loves it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I told him, "Don't you?" He said, "It's only gonna be a minute." I said, "Okay." It only take a minute to get your dog and your car towed up out here. Okay, we live in the country as well.
What about you? Your dogs are what'd you say?
So I have 2. One I inherited,
Oh.
Creed. He is a Jack Russell Terrier and Chihuahua. And Natalie, technically my daughter's dog. We've had her for like 9 years. We just realized
In
it's
human
like,
years,
yeah, we was like,
Which
oh,
is-
Natalie.
By the
Happy
way,
anniversary.
like right.
What does that
She's
mean?
You're
a
still
Dachshund and a Chihuahua mix. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
a Chiweenie.
Oh,
That's what they call them.
Right,
Oh, I
right,
love
right,
She's
right.
that.
sweet. She's cute.
Right. Is that your daughter's dog that she dropped off for you to watch for a day and
Well,
then what?
No, well, my daughter, she's had a freshman year at VCU.
Oh,
so
very
I
good.
had,
Congratulations.
So
Yeah.
anyone wants guinea pigs.
What?
Just let me know. But she has 2 of them. I'm like, you're going to be gone for 4 years? I can't do it. So
So she said, okay, Mom, I'm off to college. You said, great. And she said, here's some animals.
I knew they were there because she lived with me, but it's like, what's the plan?
That's right.
So
yeah, none of the plan is I'm out.
Yeah, we finally have a plan now.
Oh, good.
I can put them up for adoption.
Okay,
So,
okay,
good,
very
good,
nice.
good. Yeah.
That is great. She's at VCU, and your son is where?
My son works for Albemarle County, but he's also involved with city schools.
So they're both local-ish. Yeah, that's and is that? I mean, so again, so you've born here, raised here, stayed here. I mean, is that how important is the sort of like that unit to you? And and was that a part of for them? Would either of them express any interest in being like, hey, Mom, I'm going to Oregon? Like,
my son a little bit, but I think he would always come back.
Okay.
Just because of the changes that he wants to make, like the changes. He's the type of person like needed to be the change that he needed.
Sure.
When he was growing up in the school systems. If he goes, I don't think he would be gone for long, but I think, Charlottesville is here. Crozet is like our home and like the home front for us is always going to be there. And then my daughter, on the other hand, maybe, possibly, even when she finishes school or wherever she goes, I won't be surprised if she stays.
Okay.
But that's my girl, so I know she's going to come home and visit.
VCU is super close. That's in her backyard.
I mean, yeah, but
that's perfect. That's
no.
You
That's,
get there in an hour.
I stayed even closer than that, so I can't even.
You did. You did.
I went to UVA. I graduated from there, and my mom went there, and my aunt went there.
Oh.
And then my cousin Gerard Smith went there for his batting school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he ran for something. Don't ask me what. Like 5 years ago. Do ask me. I have no idea.
Well, my son is on the school board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what he ran. Don't, Gerard, sorry. And yeah, so I was like, shoot, I need to be super close. People was like, you're not afraid of them to pop up? I said, no, I'm not afraid for them to pop up. Good, come get this laundry.
Yeah, right. Pop up all you want.
Yeah, please do. Send the checks.
So your son's on the school board, and you've obviously have a long career of sort of being involved in the community and things like that. Is that how did that start for you, right? And so I'm just trying to trace this path of like, you have an interesting story of like very young single mother and have evolved into someone who's been very community focused. It seems like an argument could be made that it would have been easy to be like, look, I had to focus all this time on doing this thing that's hard even when you got all this stuff, right? So how did you, I mean, was it one of those stories where like you had a village around you and that became important? Was just talk a little bit about kind of the evolution of how you became someone that's very eager to give back and that has clearly been imparted upon your kids.
So it's a little bit of the opposite story, and even I guess I don't know, sadly with my son as well, is because we want what we are doing is being that resource or support that we didn't have. Like growing up, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Like being a single mom, circle, it was small, still very small. But it's just like not knowing what's out here, like who, resources, places, people to talk to, who can help me type of thing. And then like just from working at CIC, it's like, oh my God, Charlottesville is rich. It's like, oh my God, Charlottesville has all of this and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, why no one said anything? It's like, y'all keeping it to yourself.
Well, sure.
And even like being a city resident, or I moved from Albemarle County back into the city, it's like the city really does a lot for people. Albemarle County, not so much. I might get in trouble, or either I just don't know about it.
Okay.
But when I see all these programs, like, oh, you got to be a city resident. Oh, city this, city that. And I'm just like, dang, I was like, snap. But it's just, so for us, it's kind of like just being that support and being what it is that we needed, and make sure that no one else gets neglected or left behind, if that makes sense. It's like if there's something that I know or a program or anything to share, I want to be that, and just making sure that people are really their best selves at first so they can live their best life and just be exposed and have the support they need.
Sure.
So.
Can you talk a little bit about your work and the work of CIC and what that is for people out there who are listening who may not know?
Oh, CIC. CIC. So
CIC.
Yeah, CIC is Community Investment Collaborative. I've been there almost 4 years now. And it was actually my son that introduced me to CIC because he took the entrepreneur workshop.
Oh, cool.
In 2015, I believe, and his fiance took it in 2017, and I took it in 2019. And ever since then, it's like, oh, okay. So 2019 was also that time period where my position had changed at the Mickey Company, Lexus Law Publishing, whatever you want to call it now. And just like it's something that I needed to do, something that I wanted to do. But Community Investment Collaborative is just the 3 words that it is. It's community. It does invest in the community, in the people, our clients, and it's collaboration because there's like a hub of people and resources and things that we do and trying to bring people together, be a resource, networking, and all those type of things. We have like quite a few programs. There's the Entrepreneur Workshop that we do. It's a 16-week program to help businesses or those that want to start a small business. We have the Financial Management Program. You have to be in business for maybe like at least 6 months. You get about 20 hours of free like bookkeeping, record-keeping training. We have the mentoring, just one-on-one support if you have any SMART goals or business goals that you want to accomplish. Like we can pair you up with a mentor. What else do we have? I just said it's a whole lot. And of course, we have financing. So we go up to like a $50,000 loan that people can have access to. But yeah, it's just a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's enough. I didn't say a lot, but it really is a lot. Like we do the workshop like about twice a year, but now in 2025, we're going to expand to 3 different workshops. So applications are open. If anyone wants to start a small business, go to cicville.org. So we have the Charlottesville workshop, Culpeper Orange workshop, and we're starting a virtual one in the Southern Virginia area.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's crazy. What is the biggest hurdles that you see that entrepreneurs in these programs are trying to overcome, and what do you say to them? 'Cause I think a lot of us want to be entrepreneurs. It's just like, but not all of us can be. I gotta get to work. I don't know if I can do a business.
You probably could. You just have to want it. How bad do you want it?
Not at all.
You won't succeed. You won't succeed.
0, actually. None.
But yeah,
You would not be.
We
a
just
good
caught you on your
candidate
day
for the
off.
workshop.
it seems like being an entrepreneur is super hard. So I know that people are like,
It is. Maybe not super hard, but at the same time, the workshop itself, it's what you make it to be. Just realizing that we are there to support you. And I think because that I've taken the workshop, when I'm there with others, I'm like, it's not easy, and it's really not. You have to be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. We give homework every week. We require them to go out and talk to people. Like, it really is a lot of work. But in the end, if you stick with it, connect all of the dots to the assignments and to all the topics that we teach, it's like you will come out with a business plan. Like, you have your business plan. What are your next steps? And it's granted that some people are not may not have an LLC yet or anything like that, or be ready to open for business. It's fine. We just let them know we're still here.
Okay.
So when you're ready, whatever resources that you need, like, we're still here, but we basically just teach them the foundations of starting a business. Is it viable? Like, do you know your customer? What does your customer look like? What do they do? It's like, now that you know these things, like, how are you going to market to them? Like, do you know how to pay yourself? So there's a little part of like the financing, like the personal budget piece, even though we're talking about business. But if you really want to be an entrepreneur, it's like, you're not working for anybody else except for yourself, your household, your family. You need to make sure that your business knows how to pay you, and you're the one to figure that out. So make sure that you know your personal budget, the expenses that you have, to know how much your business should pay you. Make sure that you have the correct pricing, because we don't want you to be in the red, like from the beginning to whatever the end, to where you just like, I'm just going to close because I'm not making no money and going back to working for whomever. But those type of things is like, it does take a while. It is some steps, and it can be hard. Sometimes it can feel lonely, but they're not lonely if they just come in and let us know what it is that they need, the support that they need. Even if for CIC, if we aren't a resource, like, we're going to find out. It's like, we're going to send you to someone, to another organization. This is what you can do, type of thing.
And you participated in the... That's what I do over here.
he over here Googling.
Yeah, I'm putting the pieces together. What are you talking about? Come on now. The internet keeps receipts.
He said, it says here.
Listen, yeah. Look, y'all start taking lefts and rights and all kind of stuff. I got to figure out what we're doing. Right? Asking me about dog colors and stuff. What do I look like over here? But anyway, per my research, It says that you also participated in a CIC program too.
Yes.
Is that, I'm assuming, was that prior to your working there?
Yep.
And so was that like, are those things inexorably linked? Did you do that and you're like, oh, right? So like, I'm assuming you did that with an idea of starting a business, presumably.
Yes.
Right. At what point did you pivot, into saying, okay, maybe it's not that, but there was some value in this program, at least enough value that you thought you wanted to be a part of it.
Right.
Right. So like, how did you get from A to B or A to Z or however we interpret the alphabet in that case?
Double A, B, lowercase b.
Yeah.
So I did finish a program. I do have a business, but I also work for CIC when the opportunity was available. They were expanding, so I think it's when they first started expanding, and there was a position open, and I had applied, and I asked for too much money, so I didn't get it. So then when I saw the position was open again, and I was notified it was open again, I was like, I'm going to try one more time.
Yep.
People like persistence.
Yeah, I didn't put a salary on it this time, but also because of where I was, like I was really, really ready to go. And that's just how it was, because I knew how the workshop flowed, and I knew the support and the encouragement and what CIC does. And again, my son took the course. My daughter-in-law, she took the course, and then I took it. And just seeing the people that come through and those that I were in the workshop with, like I still have a relationship with them. And just Community Investment Collaborative, like there could not be another or better name to make it work. It's just one of the things I love, again, to see people being supported, being encouraged, having what they need, the resources to improve their life, their lifestyles, and provide for themselves. I just want people to be their best, and I just love it. It's very meaningful work.
Seeing as your son and you went through the program, it feels like you're instilling an entrepreneurial spirit in your children. I would love to hear what you think about that, and do you think that the ways in which you raised them lended to this entrepreneurial spirit that they have acquired and hopefully love about their business?
I will have to say it switched a little bit. My son is like a very go-getter. Like my son is very encouraging. It's actually my son that taught me about finances too, and saving and all of that stuff. So while I am the mother,
yeah, sure.
Granted, I was 16 when I had them, so we basically grew up together,
yeah.
If that makes sense. So there are things that he's learning I'm unaware of, and he'll tell me, and he teach me, and I take it. The only thing that we haven't done yet is getting my daughter, but now that she's in college, but there's so many things that she's able to do and creative with that she probably could monetize and make some money, but she's just not there yet. But we're not giving up.
So you want her to take her talents entrepreneurially.
She can, but she wants to be an ultrasound tech, so it's like maybe not. But there's things that
don't
she
get
like
too
to
creative
do.
with that.
Yeah,
She could be
that.
the tech and also have a business.
Well, yeah, she could.
Yeah.
At one time, she was great at making headbands, adding little stickers and stuff to them. And one time, she was selling candy at school. My son did the same thing, so we know it's in there somewhere. They're trying to make some dollars, and she was doing intro videos for YouTubers and stuff like that. It's like, Rachel,
that's
you
business.
can do this, and she just like, I didn't want to take too much time. It's like that's how you charge people, girl. Make some monies.
I'm sure knowing your worth is also super hard when starting a business. It's like, how do I price out? I see someone doing it for hundreds of dollars, but they've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm new to the game. How do I price myself accordingly so that I'm not undercutting the value that I provide to people? Do you find that to be?
Yes,
absolutely. Especially Black business owners.
Absolutely. And then they think they have to lower their prices just to make money and have customers. It's like, no, because you want to place value on yourself. You want to place value on your products, your services, and the experience that your customers will have. And so you need to be right on in there. It's like you could be the same price as Billy Bob and Joey May down the street and all the stuff like that. But what are you offering that's different? And that's one of the main things that we like, what sets you apart from everyone else? Like there's competition, direct and indirect, just right. Like down the street on Ridge, there's Wendy's and there's McDonald's. But it's like you have your choice, but they both sell burgers. It's like, but there's still something different about each one that people have a preference, and they'll pay for you. If you're really good, customer service is great, food is great, authentic, you got it. The service is great, you doing good customer value, and people, even like with the branding part, we mostly teach that they're buying into your story.
Yeah.
So we teach them elevator pitches too. It's like, say who you are, say what it is that you do, and why do you do it, and that's what people pretty much buy into. I didn't do it.
If you are just joining us, this is Envision Radio from the United Way of Greater Charlottesville, City of Promise, News Radio 98.9, 1070 AM WINA. Price and Markey here with Juana Dent. What is your business?
I do proofreading and copy editing.
So, hearkening back to your publishing
I guess
days?
a little bit, but my grandmother used to take me to the library in Crozet, and when I stayed my summers with her, but also Miss Dolores Campbell, and she's still here in Charlottesville.
That sounds so familiar.
She was my librarian at Stony Point Elementary School. She always read to us, always loved books and reading, and just being exposed to that. Like, I could probably read back then. It was like about 5 books in a week, so basically one a day. My grandma would take me to the library, and I'd get a book, and she said, "That's all." I'm like, "Yeah, in 2 days, can we go back to the library?" So she would make me get like about 1 for each day before she brings me back. I just like to read, so it was nice. And then I think also with the proofreading at Lexus is where I ended up like, oh, these are the marks you make. Oh, okay, this makes sense. But at the same time, that is not the type of material that I was interested in, like the law.
Yeah,
just now
Lexus
having,
is like legal.
it's law publishing.
Gun to my head, I'd be in
Dent.
trouble. Gun to my head, I would be in trouble if somebody
Dent.
asked, "You gone?" Because I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it do, or what it did, or if it's still there.
Yeah, United States Code Service Section 13.59-01AB.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Do you find yourself like learning weird stuff and you start doing that? You're like, oh, actually.
Yeah, like
Just
Virginia
reading about
has some
the-
strange laws sometimes too. Because like I think in Waynesboro used to be a law like you couldn't drive down Main Street on a Sunday eating ice cream or stuff.
Yeah,
is strange.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of
It was
things
like,
on the
say,
books
what?
that don't make sense,
Yeah.
It's like Sunday,
and they still there. It's legacy laws that don't make no. Somebody did it one time. They was like, you know what? We got to put something on the law for that. James went down the street one time, causing a lot of trouble. Let's put it on the book. And ain't nobody did it since because people are actually doing it, but it don't matter.
Yeah, it is some strange stuff sometimes. It's like this is very archaic. Like,
Yeah.
who's gonna change and challenge this stuff? But yeah, that was boring material. But at the time, single mom, paid the bills,
Sure.
had good insurance. It did what it needed to do for me at that time.
Yeah.
Libraries are also on their way back. You know, people are realizing
Were they
the
out?
importance. I think that no one's thinking about the importance of a library publicly
Okay.
and the resources that it provides to underfunded people in society, right? It's
Okay.
free Wi-Fi. It's programming that you're not even thinking about. They have I think when we went to we had a tour at the library, and they were like, people don't know that we have all these things. We have training, job trainings. We have help with this, help with that, helping with applications. We have a 3D printer that you can use for free. Like, if you have a creative passion or pursuit, we're not just places you can come get books. And it's very, I would say, rare that it's just a place you can go get books.
It's meeting spaces.
Yeah, a lot of people
movies,
go
CDs,
there
yeah.
to do things that people aren't even thinking about can be done at a library.
Because they think print is dead.
Yes,
Yeah.
archiving,
Books, and that's
history,
just it.
like.
Yeah.
But
Wait,
they
what
have
did you say?
People think print is dead. And so they just think everything is electronically, and they're just thinking print is only like books.
We need hard copies.
But yeah.
They're killing archives. Digital archives.
They're doing what?
Killing digital archives.
Who?
The man. I don't know what he was saying.
Who is they? Who is the them of
We're
which
like,
you speak?
Those people outside this room.
Yeah, people they're like, we're losing digital content. For example, streaming services are like that host films, archival films and things that you make. They're tired of hosting them, so they're disbanding these companies and selling them for parts.
Okay.
And so you can't access films that were made 30, 40 years ago because the place that hosted them doesn't exist anymore. And so we're losing history every day because these archival films or things are literally disappearing from the internet because we've become a streaming culture.
Does anything disappear from the internet?
Somebody has a USB copy. But yeah, we're losing digital space.
But now you
every
have all
day.
these
They're telling people
remakes of movies and whatnot. It's like, come on, y'all, how many times
tired
can
of
we
it.
make this
Can we be
thing?
creative? Can
Yeah.
you make up something else?
Can we do
Well,
something else?
I think nothing is new. Even the old stuff's not new. right? I mean, all the stuff's based on what? It's based on Greek mythology. It's based on old literature. It's based on, all the Star Wars is basically Pocahontas. I mean, all of this stuff
You don't think
is
people
like...
are creating original works?
No, I don't. Not at all. Even in music, people aren't creating new music. They're sampling old stuff. They're certainly changing things. I think people are putting their own spin on things. But no, I don't think anything's new.
You don't think anything is coming from people's head? You think art is dead? Like, it's the original?
No, but I think we have to redefine what art is. I think if you're saying that if I'm a musician, right, and I take a Ray Charles sample and I change the key a half step and speed it up to create something that is sonically, sort of harkens back to Ray. Huh?
But Kanye West and
but
Jamie
those feel like art to me, even if they're using samples of
But
things.
it's not new. That's not new.
The works is original. They got copy law, so it in fact is original.
What do you mean?
Like the thing they made with parts of other things is still an art that is creative out of something, but that thing is still original because that thing doesn't exist in its totality.
Well, I think that's the question. Is that what does that mean? And I think that's the big question in the arts right now is what does that mean? I mean, that's the whole music publishing question. It's like you have all of these lawsuits of whose estate gets paid. If I use a thing that sounds kind of like this thing, and artists are saying, look, there's only so many different sounds you can make. There's only so many different guitar riffs in the key of A that you can play. Like, because there are all these things where like a guy, an artist is like, I've never even heard that obscure Ukrainian ukulele, right? I just knew I wanted a riff at 180 at this, and there's only so many ways you can do that. And so I think that creatively, like I think that's interesting when we think about content and we think about even the difference between digital content and print content and like how all of these things get crammed together is sort of this theory of like, what does that mean like, are we evolving from this whole library conversation, right? And so you said you think, people think that print is dead.
But it's coming back, and I always say get all your hard copy stuff now.
Is it?
Well, only because, like the music for Apple, for example, I don't like shouting out people. Apple Music, for example, when you download
you have to
a song,
pay us for that.
You don't own that song. Like when you do when they do the Apple Music, you don't own it. They can take it off, and it won't belong to you. You have like rights to listen, but you don't own it. And if they want to take it away, they can. So I saw an article.
That's not how everything works. You don't own your house. The bank has a lien on your house, right?
You
So
mean
like
so
even
you
the
pay
stuff
it
you
off?
own, you don't own it.
Yeah, but digitally speaking, they could take it right. So there was a lawsuit about PlayStation, and there was a game people were downloading the digital file for. They didn't have the hard copy.
Sure.
And then the game was like, oh, well, we don't want to do this anymore. The game's done.
Right.
And people woke up, and the game was gone. They're like, oh, I bought it. That's not how buying games work.
Right.
You do not, in fact, own the game.
Right.
They can, in
Long-term
fact,
rental.
anytime take it away. You'll never see it again. It's a function of the digital world.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Hard copies. If you have a CD of Marvin Gaye, it's yours.
Right.
They can't come and knock down the door and get it.
Right.
Digital art means they can take Marvin Gaye away from you if you have it on streaming or whatever you buy for 99 cents because you don't own the sound. They're lending it to you.
Sure.
But hard copies don't work that way.
Right.
Anything digital they can take. They can
Right.
have it. They
What's
will
in your
take it,
hands
and they
is
will
yours.
take it.
Yeah.
Right. So to say what? You said
Just to
you
get
said hard copies are
buy
coming
Whitney
back.
Houston CDs. Buy Ray Charles cassettes. That's what I'm saying.
Buy Ray Charles
Buy Shrek
cassettes
3 on DVD, Bluray.
and
That's
play
what I'm saying.
and play it
Still
on
have
what?
VCR tapes.
Yeah, I was about to, sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What are you gonna play your Ray Charles cassettes on?
I don't know. I just not bought my mama a CD player.
You don't have a cassette
I
player.
said, I said, you got any CDs? She was like, I got tons of CDs. I said, I ain't never seen you use a CD. She's like, I got tons in the basement. And I was like, oh, well, here's a DVD player or a CD player, whatever. And I was like, yes, keep all that. I'm telling people to keep these things.
Are you? You think it's coming back?
Not that it's coming back, but that the digital world is shrinking.
Really?
In the sense that like you don't own those things. So you need if you want to have access to those things in perpetuity, you need to have them on hard copy.
Huh.
That's what I mean.
Interesting.
Of course, the digital space is growing in the sense of like we're online more,
Right.
but the things that you own
Right.
and have access to will shrink because companies own it and they're not making a profit by hosting it anymore.
So isn't this antithetical to your whole library argument? Which would be that
Go to the library.
right, but you don't own any of that. You rent the books. So what if the library's like
free.
what if the library's like we're out? Then you lose access to all of that
Then
stuff.
buy books.
Right?
If you don't have access, you don't have access to buy the things. I'm saying if you have access, you want these things forever, and you can afford to buy a hard copy, you should do it.
So
I-
the library can be like a preview. It's like, I
Yeah.
really love this book.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
then go
purchase
get it.
So you're using
Not from the library.
you're
but-
using the streaming as the library and the hard copy is the Barnes and Noble. Theoretically, your CDs are your Barnes and Nobles. You're using your sort of digital in this analogy as sort of a sample.
I just know you're
to
not
say,
gonna when this all falls through. You're not gonna be hearing Stevie Wonder anymore. You're gonna be mad, but I have him on record at the house.
What's falling through?
The streaming platforms.
Do you really think they're gonna go away?
I think that people are holding music and things like that hostage, like movies especially. Like
Really?
archival films. We don't have access to them
What
anymore.
did you not get to watch recently that you wanted to watch?
Do you really want to know?
Yes, because you seem mad about something very specific.
It's so HBO Max essentially bought Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And they have a couple of cartoons that they were hosting, and they don't exist anymore.
Courage the Cowardly Dog?
It wasn't. It was called Over the Garden Wall.
Okay.
But like, so I'm a cartoon head, and so like because HBO Max owns Cartoon Network
Sure.
and hosts all of the things that Cartoon Network used to have, they decide
Sure.
that people's most beloved cartoons
Sure.
will never see the light again. Like you cannot watch them online. You cannot buy them. You cannot stream them. They're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the person who created the show got a USB at the house.
Right. He's got
But
the
no one else
he's got
can see
the
those
raw
things.
footage. Yeah.
They're tired of hosting. They're not making enough profit by hosting.
Sure.
Because you already bought the service. Watching the cartoon makes us no money.
Sure.
And because the thing doesn't make the money, they don't have to host it because it's not a law to keep things that existed before around.
Right.
It's gone
Right.
forever. No one will see it again.
Right. So
I'm a person who want to see it. So that's why I'm mad.
The market argument would be if it was that popular, people would start to cancel and they would bring it back.
Yeah,
Right.
nobody doing that probably.
So,
I didn't cancel.
so
I
in
was
the,
mad.
so well,
I have the stuff to watch. I just moved to a different show. But I think it's weird that people can just wipe things off the face of the earth. Is my problem. We're not even talking about the interviewing now.
Oh, I'm
Well,
fine with it.
People are gonna know I'm mad.
No, because it makes sense. And
Yes.
even like some people, like, oh, you have all these books, or you're a hoarder, or these DVDs, VCR tapes, and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, because it's
Keep it
mine.
around.
Well, for me, I don't consider myself a hoarder, but I told my son, it's like, I think about, I spent money on this.
Yes.
Like, these are mine.
Mhm.
So, yes, they're in storage. They're in a bin in storage. But one day, someday,
They have value.
it may come back around.
Yeah.
Or even your kids may want
record
to see it or
players.
something like
They're
that.
making a comeback.
Yeah, there are some. My mom got rid of all of her albums back in the day.
No.
And I've been searching for them.
Yes.
But, yeah, but it's like, oh, dang, mom. It's like, she got into the church and somebody told her that,
Sure.
worldly music. It's like,
Sure.
but I like the Commodores and I like Earth, Wind, and Fire and Rick James and Michael Jackson. It's
Yeah.
like, where they at? But yeah,
My
some
great
things-
aunt had records too, and she
Sure.
passed them down to my dad, and my dad gave them to me.
There you go.
Nice.
Good you. Old at heart. Talk a little bit about, so your son's on the school board, your daughter's in school, sort of figuring out what she wants to study and off to college. Can you, clearly education and obviously your work, right, is heavily, there's obviously a resource part of it, but as you talked about, much of it is education and workshops and sort of helping people to get the qualitative side of whatever it takes to do whatever they want to do. Is education that's something that's always been sort of seminal to your experience? Were you like that as a kid? Did you come to that later? Like, or are your kids sort of, did the apples fall from the tree? Were they, are they different than?
Apples always fall from the tree.
Do they fall far
Just
from
not
the tree
far.
though?
Just not far.
I want to see a study on that.
What, apples?
Apples falling far from the tree.
Oh, sometimes they roll,
They
right?
roll a little
Yeah,
bit.
there you go. Yeah.
They roll, but maybe still not too far. Close to the roots.
Mm-hmm.
I think education is always, I know education has always been important to us because we just don't want to stay stagnant.
Mhm.
And it's always something or that we want to know about or curious about, curiosity. My daughter sometimes, she'd be like, oh, you don't know? I'm like, Rachel, what is that? And she'd be like, search it up. And I'm like, girl, what is search it up? But
Yeah,
like I
sure.
just asked her, did you just Google me?
Sure.
But that type of thing. But it's always something to know, to learn about. Times are changing regardless of whether history repeats itself. And, of course, if you just only go by what they teach you in school. But even for me in school, that was like my getaway from home. Like I lived in Stony Point. The bus ride was like a whole hour almost going to school and coming back home. So it was kind of like a getaway, but just like knowing what else is out there, what we have access to. And again, a lot of times you have to go out and do the work yourself or get the education yourself, because if you only rely on what people tell you, you're going to miss out on a whole lot. So education is always like a huge thing, and just take what you can, learn, share it. What is it? Each one teach one rule. It actually works. And again, like, I might be the mom, but my son taught me. So it's always something to learn and to grow on and to share with others. Yep.
Was that do you find that you've mentioned this a lot, how like you've learned a lot from your kids, and obviously vice versa, and parents are obviously critically.
My daughter learned from your mom.
From my mom? Bless her heart. At Monticello?
No, at church.
Yeah.
My daughter loved dancing with your mom.
Oh, great. Oh, good.
It's like praise dancing?
Mm-hmm.
I love a good praise dance. Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, here's what's interesting. I think that we, you've mentioned a couple times that, your circle was and remains small, but those, I think from a community lens, there's two things that I'm trying to get at, is that piece, and then also like you being very intentional about trying to be the person who can fill in some of the gaps that you experienced or your family experienced, right? Are those things, have they changed over time? Like if you reflect back on your experience and you sort of fast forward to today, how much, if any, progress has been made on those things, right? Triangulating like small town, a lot of money, a lot of intellect. Like have you seen demonstrable progress? Or are you saying, the same stuff that we were talking about, right, 25 years ago, we haven't really sorted it?
Community-wise, there has been some changes, some positive changes, but most of my experience really is just from my family. And I would say, because I'm one of those people, my children are like my whole world.
Sure.
It's like I do believe in generational curses. I do believe in each generation being better than the previous one. Like my children are way better than me. My children like already far exceeded me. I had my son when I was 16, for goodness sake. And so he's just now becoming a dad at 32, and my daughter is 18. So it's like, oh, y'all beat me already.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
glad, I'm happy.
I told my mama the same thing, and I beat her. And I passed her. I said, I didn't beat you. You almost got me.
You almost got me.
But still, if we, and the same goes for CIC, if you can empower one person to do something, to create change or be the change that's needed, it's like you're making a change in the community. And I still stand firmly on, there's a lot of resources that we don't know about. And just because I am at CIC and working, there's still a lot that I'm learning. Like you gave the number today, about 400 nonprofits. I'm like, what? Because the most I ever know of is just those that are in like FRTF program. And those are like the only ones that I know of.
That is 1%,
So,
0.01% of the nonprofits in town.
Yeah.
Or in the greater Charlottesville area.
Yeah, for sure.
And also the position that I have is like now I have to train myself or be out there and do more networking and getting to know other people, like granted here today, and just knowing what's there. So things have changed, but I think the change is always an internal change first with the person and what your viewpoint is and what your perspective is to make the changes that's carried out. So it's just a lot of, I'm a behind the scenes person. So when I see people doing what it is that they do, and if they come back and say thank you, it's good. If they just like, I appreciate you too, because you let me help you, because that's fulfilling to me. Like it's very meaningful to me. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
What was the question, Bryce, that you asked?
I asked
Did
her.
I see any changes
Yeah,
from
yeah,
them?
yeah,
Like even
yeah,
like
yeah.
25 years or whatever from my experience to now.
Yeah. What is in your I guess I'd be interested to hear from you too. We talk a lot and I know a lot
That's
of how
true.
you feel. But in your estimation and given your point of view in your work, I mean, what are the 1 to 3 things that you're like, man, if we want to get to where we need to go, here's the things we need to we need to over-index in. I think we would all agree that everything is important, right? But if there are things, given the work that you do, given the people you interact with, what are the things you're like, man, a strong investment in these areas will yield, positive results?
Technology.
Is that right?
Yeah, we have a lot of people that aren't tech savvy. like even with the basics, because it's been like years since I've been out of school, but it's like they don't know how to log into a laptop or a computer.
Huh.
Excel
They
is
don't-
hurting people.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And we use like our platform is Google, but it's kind of like if you know how to use an Excel sheet, you know how to do a Google sheet.
Yeah,
But
Sure.
it's like, no, I don't know. If you know Microsoft Word, you know Google Docs. I'm like, no, I don't know. And so there's a lot that we have to take a little day by day. I'm like, please just come in and see me so we can like get you logged into this laptop, know how to make bookmarks, know how to open a document, know how to save. So technology, they really need that that training, that learning. I think it was like at a TomTom festival or talk that I went to, and they were talking about those that have like the vocational and just like plumbing. Like, well, we have jobs, but nobody's applying. Well, because they don't know how to look for you online.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they want to come in.
Oh,
like, even
People
want
want to come in and drop
Yeah.
off their resume. Like I think
Yeah.
the
Really?
job. That's
Yeah.
what I heard recently. That parents, older people are like telling my generation of people like, "Oh, you want a job? Take your resume downtown and start handing them out."
Yeah.
And then we say, "Well, that's not how it works anymore."
Sure.
Like you got to go online on Indeed and apply 6 times and write your cover letter, and it got to be different every time. So I think
Sure.
it's shifted in a way that older generations don't eat, like, especially if you've been in your job for 20 years and now you're trying to transition out to a different career or a different job in your, older years. It's hard when you haven't done that in 20 years and the landscape has changed over the course of the 20 years. It doesn't look anything familiar.
Are a
my
lot
mom
of
transitioned.
your folks older? And I don't mean, and when I say older, I don't mean like I mean like sort of 40s, 50s. Like, are they in that?
Some are. We could arrange. I think the youngest that we've had right now is because he's helping his father. He's 17.
Okay.
So he and his father there. And the
Love it.
oldest that we've had was probably, she was maybe in her 60s, maybe
Okay.
about 70 or so.
Because to your
and it's
point,
still a challenge.
yeah, and that's interesting because I wonder. I'd be interested to know, and this is just sort of a professional curiosity, that like yes, the zeitgeist changes rapidly, but like I'm almost 40, so like my entire generation was raised on technology,
Yeah.
right? So you could potentially make a cogent argument that unless you've bridged that gap in the other direction, it's not age, it's access. Right,
Yeah.
it's money.
I
It
can
has
see that.
nothing to do with
I
how
can see
old
that.
you are, right? Because I would be considered like, if you're saying that most of that cohort is like under 50, like
That's interesting.
that's my folks. Like those
Yeah,
are
they should,
millennials,
yeah. It's
right?
just about
Which means that
access.
we all grew up with computers, and I learned to type on AOL Instant Messenger. Like that was the thing. Which means that what is it? And I guess the question is, are you noticing, if you're saying it's not age, if you're saying, yeah, we have some outliers, we have some older folks for whom, yes, absolutely. Like, if you
Doesn't
were,
really have to be age, but still, if they have it, do they know how to use it? And then some just don't have it to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
well, and I think that was my question, is that like, if we're saying, okay, it's not age, by which there was an entire generation of people who that technology didn't exist. And for for us,
Yeah,
that
and it
will
makes
be
sense for them
that
not
will
to
be
understand.
something,
Yeah.
right? I'll be looking at my
But it's
grandkids
not
like,
that for
what
some of
is
these people.
this, right? But if we're saying it's not that, and everyone who's in my cohort grew up in a technologically robust era, what is the barrier? And are you seeing that it's like, oh, if you didn't grow up with it, not because it wasn't there, but because you didn't have it, that you're obviously behind that curve, right? So if we're thinking about, there are people my age who didn't have access to computers, and that's when
Yeah.
home computers were desktops and towers and all this stuff. You don't have the space, you don't have the phone lines, you don't have the right, like, and are you finding that is there some distinction there where you're like, oh, I can tell that like these are a lot of people who just didn't grow up in areas that had access to that level of technology. Maybe they didn't.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean, because I think, sometimes about public libraries, we talked about this, they're great, but even so, like, how accessible are they really if you are even 2.5 to 3 miles away?
Right, like
It's
if
not
you
the
don't have
hardest thing in
access,
the world,
yeah.
right? But if you live downtown, you get to the downtown library. Cool. If you live a little bit out in Albemarle and you're sort of in that weird spot where like you're not close enough to Northside, I don't even know where one is further north.
There's one in there used to be one over there in that shopping center that's dead now.
It's north side, but it just moved across.
It moved across the street, right?
of
That's
20.
what I thought.
Yeah.
It
But if
moved
you're
across the
further
street.
north than that, like I guess you got to go to Green, like
I guess
you know what I'm saying.
Green.
So there, like
Yeah.
there
It's
are
good. I've been
some,
to all these libraries. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one in Green.
yeah, but there's enough spots where you're like, there are some like small deserts, mini deserts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It is, but it doesn't
Library
mean you know
deserts.
how to use
Yeah.
it though. It doesn't mean you know how to use it. You may go to like Google or search engine and search up something, but if you had to type a paper, it's kind of like
Yeah, it's just
I
different.
don't know. It's this. It's not your home keys ASDF. It's just kind of like here. I mean, there's some they just like a cell phone. It's just because they know they can get on social media, they know they can call somebody, they know they can text somebody. But for the workshop, it's like you need a laptop or a tablet. They're struggling.
Yeah.
Are you actually like teaching people to type? Is that part of it?
You see my face?
I don't know. I can't tell. You gave me nothing.
Right. That is the answer.
I think it shocks
not necessarily
people that
tight, but it's like this is how you save.
Yeah.
This is how you make a copy. This is how you log in. This is how you make a bookmark. Not everyone.
Yeah.
But then we have like there's a website I always share with our class, GCFL Learning.
Uh-huh.
Everything. It's like if you just take the time to do these tutorials, like you got it. But that's a struggle. And then to be a business owner, it's like, what are you going to do?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, well, I mean, I think the reason I ask is because that is a skill set that many people would like. You would just say you have to have, right? And so that becomes, I think, one of those implied kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's like remember the peanut butter and jelly thing that we all did in school?
Yes, exactly.
Where you're like, okay, like you put peanut butter on jelly, and like, well, did you go to the store?
Yeah,
did you buy
exactly.
this print? Did you open the jar? Did you get the knife? Like, I think it's that, and I think sometimes we don't break it down to that level, right? Because it would be very easy to say, like, okay, if you're all in a class about being an entrepreneur, we're not going to start at
Zero.
ASDF JKL SIMI. We're going to like.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you're coming in here, and I think that's an interesting spin on it to say we're going to start wherever we need to start.
Yeah.
Right, and not jump the shark and say, oh, everyone knows how to do what I think many people would consider, especially in this era, like basic skills.
Yeah. And I think that's where pride comes in a little bit because they won't say they want it that bad. We even have it on their website. You need these things. You need a Gmail account.
Sure.
Because we use Google Workspace.
Sure.
You need a laptop or at least a tablet. You're not going to be able to do all of this from a cell phone.
Yeah.
Someone has, but it's like, oh my gosh,
Really?
like what are we looking at? But yeah, it's like, what are we looking at here?
Yeah.
But it's just like some of those things, and they won't say until if they get accepted, they're in orientation, and I'm just like, it's gonna be a little bit longer than I thought.
Yeah. I just think, I don't think we know where people are. I think we are the implication that we think that everybody knows a little bit of something.
Yeah.
Stops people from even asking, like, I don't know. I can't ask because now I guess somebody thought we all knew, and now we don't.
Oh, that's
so now we're
that's
behind. Now while we're trying to learn what everybody else learning, I'm still 3 steps behind. So now I'm having to reteach myself the 3 steps I never knew, and then the step we on supposedly. Because I feel like a lot of, especially like I said, not even that old, 45, 50. I've had to help family members like do Gmail.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, this is, and I feel crazy. I'm like, what? Just push the button.
Yeah.
Reset your password. It's supposed to come to your email.
Yeah.
I don't know what the password to my email is. You set it up. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I got it on my phone. I was like, but we're not using the phone.
Yeah.
I need you to do it on your laptop.
I don't. And so it's hard to. I can't because I'm always confused when other people who I know we're in a technological world. There's no way, but there's a way and there's a will, and like people, a lost generation of people who aren't able.
I read something interesting one time that was sort of about this, and it was sort of about that. It was about this thing of every single thing that we have, that you do, that I do, that we do, we learned it somehow. And we learned a lot of stuff either on the fly or from our parents or from our environments or from whatever. And I remember I was talking to my dad, and I was having, so I was complaining about something and, someone not being on time for something, blah, blah, blah. And he was reflecting. He was like, well, listen, when you were a kid, part of what I taught you, part of what your mother and I taught you were like these things. These were the norms in our household. These were the standards of your environment. So even though we never sat down and we talked about it, like this is how you were raised. So yes, like to you, it feels very simple to be like, if I have to be there at noon, I will get there at least 11:57. And that's it. Because that's what we did, But anyway, all of this to say that when we think about particularly some of the communities that we work with, if you're not taught that, how can I expect you to know that just like any other skill? And he asked me, he said, do you know how to play the French horn? And I was like, okay, I'm starting to get annoyed with you because this is starting not to make any sense. And he was like, well, it's just like that. It's like any other skill, right? It's like any other skill. You were never taught to play the French horn, right? Some of these folks were never taught to be on time, to use a computer, to invest their money, whatever the things are, big and small. And so I think it's a really interesting argument from a human service standpoint to say some of the stuff we have to lean into from learning isn't always like this thing. It's not always the like, we're going to teach you how to manage a 401k and how to, how to double down on your stock. And it's like, we're going to teach you how to be on time to stuff. We're going to teach you how to type. We're going to teach you how to and if you're learning that at 34, that's when you learn it. That's it, right? That's it. And I think that's been an interesting evolution of like, you can't skip step one.
No.
Regardless of when you get there, like you can't skip step one. And I think your point's well taken of how do we do that in a way that you don't feel like an idiot? Because step one is where you are, no matter how old you are. Like step one's where you are. And then how do we do that to say, okay, we understand that if we know, and I'm wondering about it from the CIC standpoint, if you're like, wow, there's a lot of people that don't know this thing coming into this program. How does that connect to other programs to say, okay, now these 6-year-olds are going to learn this so this doesn't happen again? And I think that's the part that we miss is we keep saying, wow, all these 40-year-olds are coming in here not knowing how to type. And then years and years and years and no one's like, hey, those 40-year-olds were 6. And so I wonder, I mean, is there, in your work, is there a point of view to say, okay, here's what I'm seeing like every day right in front of me. How do I connect to with the rest of this apparatus, these 400 other nonprofits, the other for-profits, your partners and folks to be like, hey, here's what I see. Like if I'm in this part of the pipeline, here's what's constantly coming at me that's probably slowing us down or making work harder. Where do I plug in to like who else is doing the other parts of this that can make everybody's life easier?
Like a nonprofit typing class.
Yeah,
that's truly though. I mean, right?
Because I think I've reached out to Network to Work as like, y'all have this stuff. Like, what exactly is it that you do? Do you have this type of program?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, like, for me at CIC, it's like, can you please come in so we can get this laptop together and let's make it work?
That's good.
So a lot of times, like in the communities that we serve, it's like you have to meet them where they are.
Yes.
And then while you teaching them, then rise them up to your level. It's like making sure they're not walking away with just like, oh, I did this. And then, but if you weren't there the next day, could they do it again? You have to just make sure it's like being on repeat. But it's still like the technology piece, meet with them one-on-one. Are there other organizations that actually teach these things? Network to Network. What is it that they have there? At the adult learning.
Is it a tech program?
No, for some reason I thought that I read that they do. That they have that too, and I don't know if it's just like a one-off thing. You could go into their space and do something, but it's like, and again, that's why we offer. It's just, I think it's like GCFL Global or Learning.
Sure.
It's like it's tutorials and stuff there. It's like come into our space. Like we are open 9 to 5. You're a client. You're in a workshop. What's a space called Collaborative Space? Like just come sit down. You got free Wi-Fi, coffee, water, hot chocolate, snacks. What do you want? Bring your laptop. Come sit down and do this thing.
About to catch me in there.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, come sit down and do this thing and let us help you because we don't want them to be left behind. We're not there with them at night when they do their homework. We don't want them to struggle and then we get it, but like, what is this? Type of thing. But like, just any way that we can work with someone, even if it's one-on-one. And again, it's just like meet them where they are, make sure they rise up by the time they're done with the workshop. It's not just learning how to do a business. You know how to operate your laptop. You know how to read email. You know how to respond to an email.
Sure.
You know how to do these type of things. So it's more, you know how to be on time because it's on Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
That's right.
You have to be on time. You have to be there for the whole time. We take a break. You need to come back from your break on time. Come back from your break on time. So it's more than just business. It's just like being, I don't want to say good citizens, but just being productive, responsible business owners, adults in the community.
Yeah. Well, and that transcends that thing, right? And I wonder, I mean, I've got a lot of gripes about public education, but I think a lot about that. Like, what are we teaching? And so here's sort of how this is all meant to be tied together is that I tend to think that a lot of the stuff that particularly better resourced and quite frankly richer communities and people they learn not in school. Right? You learn from your parents, you learn from your network, you learn because you hung out with your mom or your dad and their lawyer and their accountant and you saw that's the stuff, right? In school, you're taught facts and figures and blah, right? And so I'm wondering, like, sort of to your point, all of the soft skills stuff, a lot of that you don't learn in school. And if you don't have the same preparatory environment, then you also don't learn it at home or in the community or wherever, right? And I think that largely translates into some of the folks who all three of us are working with and supporting, and it contributes to some of that. It contributes to some of your confusion of like, I can't how do you not like know that?
It's hard.
Right. And so I'm just I'm thinking again about this giant consortium of people who are experiencing different versions of the same thing, how that gets put together from a business standpoint, from a finance and early education standpoint, from an education and access standpoint. These things all touch each other. And I think it's interesting to your point of like, who are the other people that are like, yo, are we not like, do we not have, that? And so I guess that's the question is like, are there big things that you're like, this is what we're missing? This is a thing that this very small, well-resourced town is still missing. And it might be because it's not particularly sexy from a funding standpoint, but it's like, what if there was just like, we need to teach people how to type. We need to teach adults how to type.
Didn't they used to do that, right?
There was a typing class in school. Did you take it? Did you take a
keyboarding
Yeah.
when I was in school?
Yeah.
We learned on a typewriter and a word processor. I'm almost 50, so it's like
Yeah, we learned. So we
I think
learned
we had a typing class.
on those. Remember those Macs that were like the weird colors? The Mac desktops. Do you remember these? I mean, you might be a little too young,
So
but
it's so crazy. I do not remember that.
Oh, I'm too old for that.
it's like, no, you can't be too old for it.
I'm
You had
almost
to
50.
You had to have been somewhere.
We
You
had textbooks in school and even a textbook for keyboard, and we paid rental fees for all our books. It wasn't until my daughter was in school. It's like, where's your books? It's like, we don't use books anymore.
Do they really
Everything
not?
was-
We definitely
it
still
was
have
like
books.
maybe
Like
one or
textbooks?
two.
and
Yeah,
lockers
maybe
and
one
like
or two.
walking down the hallway like this. Everybody's got scoliosis.
Oh.
But we had like a computer lab in school, and so it was at Buford. I had a class. It was a typing class, and then that combined
we had a
with
typing class,
a lot of instant messaging is how I learned to type.
Yes, and also I don't know if we're teaching media literacy different. Like people older than some of us didn't get the media literacy at all, and then there's a generation of who got really intensive media literacy because of stranger danger online, because the internet was expanding at a rate that was unfathomable. And then now there are young kids that are like born to be on the internet, but they're not getting social media literacy in a way that like we got it. There are strangers online, and so like I think each generation is missing something. Even the youngest generation of us is missing something that is key, that are soft skills that makes our online presence in marketing successful.
Sure.
Because even like for us at CSE, a lot of our clients or people to come to us is by word of mouth. Like,
is that right?
Yeah, like we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. What's the other one? X.
Yeah.
Do you mean Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't think I can get on board with that.
I'm gonna call you with your mama name. Not your daddy coming here and start calling you a nickname.
Yeah.
Twitter.
But it's by word of mouth. So even like finding us and them applying, it's like, hey, I saw this program, I heard about it. It's like, can I come in and make an appointment for you to apply? It's like, no, just go online.
Yes,
and it's just like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Like people will actually come in and we have to bring out like a loaner laptop. It's like, here, this is how you apply. But honestly, in my head, it's like, okay, you're somebody I have to watch and be mindful of. Because when it comes into the workshop, if you're accepted, it's like, we're going to have to do some one-on-one time.
Yeah.
So they won't be behind and get caught up.
Let me ask you one more question, then we'll let you go. Do you think, and you think too, do you think that we as a culture have over-indexed on sort of this entrepreneurial spirit at the expense of like, I guess the potential argument I can see is like, some people just want regular jobs. Some people just want to work for someone and get paid and have good insurance and know what they're going to do and show up and da-da. And I think our particular, this moment in our particular culture deifies kind of this renegade founder thing, right? We love Elon Musk. We love Jeff Bezos. We love Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg and blah, blah, blah.
Who's we?
That is our culture.
People outside this room.
You saying a lot of we, like we speak French now.
Listen, our culture,
All the way home.
unassailably, right? Those are Bill Gates, right? These people are like, why do I have to go to college? I can drop out of college and do this thing because this is how you make a gajillion dollars, right? And I'll never forget, someone said it better than I could ever think. I was like, there is one Steve Jobs. All the guys who work for Steve Jobs that are a little less very rich, but his CTO and all these other guys, they all went to college.
They had to go
all
to college.
Those dudes, every company's number 2 through 10, they all went to school, right?
And work for someone.
And so, right. So I guess the question is that as someone who works for a place, and this is certainly, and I don't want to be very clear, this is not me poo-pooing on entrepreneurialism, right? But it is a question of sort of our cultural inclination to sort of prop that up as like, well, here's the thing that you should do, instead of, are we giving enough equal measure? We talk about this with trades. Are we giving enough equal measure to being like, yo, you know who's having a great time right now?
Electricians.
Skilled tradespeople, right? Like that guy that learned to be a plumber is going to come in and change that P-trap and charge you $300. You know, like, is that, and I'm just curious how you think about that, given not only your work, but just given the fact that you are also a parent of a young woman who's going to make those decisions. She's going to come out into the world and either say, I want to start a bakery, or I'm going to go work for a hospital and do a job.
My response may be a little negative. And I have shared this with the president of CIC too. Like, we just laugh and joke about it. When we have applicants for the workshop, sometimes it's like, oh, what do you see? What do you think they're going to do? I'm like, they're just looking for a way to legitimize their hustle. Really, that's what it is. It's like they're out here making the money. Like, they're out here making the money. They just need to make it legit, really.
Interesting.
And then are they really going to give back or keep it to themselves? Because it could get to a point where it's like, yeah, I'm going to hire people. I want to work with those that were incarcerated and get back and hire them. And some people probably actually do.
Sure.
But it just takes a while. Like, it's not a legit, I shouldn't say legit, like the first year, it's like, oh, I'm going to hire about 5 people. It might take 5 years for you to hire one person, like, just to do what it is that you need.
Sure.
Really, I think that's what it is. It's like, oh, I want to start my own business because I like to cook.
Yeah,
like, okay,
sure.
I want to start my own business. People say I clean good, I do hair, I want to do this. And all of that is fine, but can you really make it happen? Or you just want to make it legal so you won't have to keep getting paid under the table and you get caught up and then somebody's like, hey, you can't operate this business type here, or you're not, can't do it from your home type of thing. And they just really want to make their hustle legit.
I think I read something about monetizing your hobbies and how, like,
hustle culture, man.
Yeah. Like, you monetize your hobbies and then you don't have hobbies.
Yeah.
Because now this is your business.
Or you can't get hired somewhere for whatever reason.
Yeah, like, you've now monetized your hobby. Now you don't have hobbies. The thing that you loved and cared about non-monetarily is now your business. And if this thing doesn't work, you've put your whole love and your life into it. And now there's no escape from what is work and what is home. And what is your job and what you have to do and what it does to your hobby and your passion for, because I think a lot of people love the things that they do.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I love it. You know, I can make lots of money off of it. And it's like, you start making the money and you're like, oh, dang, now it's like, because I did this thing to it, it's work.
Gotta do all this other stuff.
And I also saw, I don't know when I saw something online about, like, Black kids in particular trying, having to hustle and not having hobbies, like, you're not going to just be playing the flute.
Yeah.
Your hobby has to be a hustle for monetary reasons, for necessary reasons. And you're not just out there having a good time because you needed the income to do that thing. So the lack of hobbies because of that.
So your whole sort of social argument of you don't even have the airspace to have a hobby because everything you do has to be earned.
Yep. Or you have to earn. You can't do it because it costs something.
Or it costs something.
It has to be work.
Right. There's a monetary amount attached to it, one way or the other. Yeah.
It makes you accountable and have responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's not just I want to do it whenever I want to. Like, if I want to take 3 days off, it's like, no, this is your business.
It's your business.
You need to do it.
Yeah. I got one more question for you. And because you mentioned that accountability, and I think we come at that in 2 forms. Either it's good for you in this whole sort of, pressure makes diamonds theory. Or the, kind of, is it really necessary? Like, did you need to? So I think these 2 points, right? There's this one point that's like, you hear people say this all the time. I didn't have a plan B. I just, sold my house and one of my kidneys and this was going to be the thing or bust, right? And other people are like, that's a ludicrous assertion. Like, you can still work hard at something without literally getting to the edge, right? And sort of stepping out over the edge. And I think I want to ask you this in the context of, you mentioned, your experience in being a very young single mother and your son's experience in being almost twice your age. And you said he's going to be a father or is a father. Did you mention that?
He is. He's a father now.
So congratulations.
Thanks.
Have you reflected on sort of the difference in those 2 experiences? Because I would assume that your experience was like, I got to get this. I don't have any, I got to get this right. Like, that's it. I have no choice. I'm young. I have this little boy I have to care for. And I'm sure you could argue both sides. You could reflect on that and be like, that made me who I am, right? I developed, sort of grit and perseverance, and I was creatively able to get what I needed, and those are invaluable skills as a person. You could also argue on his account that, like, he's older, probably more financially stable, will not have to make those same decisions or develop those same skills with the same urgency.
He absolutely won't. Because,
right?
And again, like, we grew up together. He saw me.
Yeah.
And he knew, like, some of the struggles he had, or me as a parent trying to provide for him. And then, of course, I had a sister. There was like a 14-year gap between the two of them, but it's like a little bit easier. But then just like he would never do that to his child. Like he would never have to, if he could prevent someone from struggling, especially in his own household, he would never do that.
Yeah.
No, I know I wasn't like a terrible mom, but things could have been better.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that at all.
It's kind of like just that accountability piece. It's my son is like, love him, adore him. Like he's amazing. He's a planner. And he's definitely like, no, I can't afford like to have a child right now. It's like, I'm not going to buy this vehicle right now. But if it's something that's going to take a long time, he's planning for it.
And it's the luxury of time, though, right?
And that's just what it is. Like he's a great saver, great at everything, and being very mindful. And what's the word I want to say?
Demure.
Come
on. No.
I'm the young co-host.
That's what I had to say. Because I barely got the reference.
I'm over here mindful. I don't even know one word to go mindful.
I didn't even get it.
Okay, he's not in the book. Okay.
No, mindful on purpose is like it has to have a point.
Intentional.
He's not intentional. Yeah, he's not doing it just because it's a trend or something to do or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the accountability piece for him. He's not going to fail.
And so I think that was the question with the entrepreneurs you work with. Do you lean in a direction or the other, right? Would you lean in the camp of like, hey, if you have to, nature finds a way. So they say, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. Like if you have to, you probably will. Or you like give yourself some cushion, right? Because, is there a sort of theory of practice that you find is more effective?
We're here to support them in whatever it is that they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not, quote unquote, allowed to say it's not going to work because they're the ones that have to put in the work. We're just there to support them and provide resources to make it happen.
Okay. Cool.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, a lot of people are good at like talking it up, but putting it on paper, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Do it to it. How do folks who are interested in, you mentioned this, right, a lot of word of mouth. So, but how do folks who are interested in getting involved or, helping get support or even getting into a workshop, how do they get hooked up?
A lot of them will call or maybe even stop by the office. But again, we still just making sure whatever social media platforms we can use, that we definitely get it out there. Like I said, workshop applications are open now until January 3rd, 2025.
Get your applications
in. You can go into our website, cicville.org. And again, for starting in 2025, we're going to have 3 different workshops you can apply to: the Charlottesville, Culpeper, Orange, and Southern Virginia. So it is just what it is. And again, a lot of it is just by word of mouth when people will come in and say, I heard about it. We have a newsletter you can subscribe to.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. We have graduations people can come to, and it's just always something, someone.
Right on. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Time flies. If you guys have ideas for the show, people we should talk to, check us out on social media, all platforms at United Way Cville, at City of Promise. Drop us a note, envision at unitedwaycville.org. And again, make sure you check out cicville.org for dates. Applications are open now through
January
3rd, 2025. So you have plenty of time. Hop on that. We get support on the show from the folks at the United Way. If you like what you hear, share with your friends, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And of course, the best way to support us is consider at this time make a contribution to City of Promise, to the United Way, or to any of your local nonprofits, which help us do community-based work and keep on doing this show.
Bye.
For Juana and Marquita Price. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.